home. David, I have an additional question for you. How fast can change come to policing? You know our country, you know the system, you know the decades of institutionalized practice that we are talking about changing, we citizens. So is the glass half full or half empty in your view?
I think the glass is half full, and change can come as quickly as we are willing for that change to come. And this case is actually a very good example of what I mean when I say that. A prosecutor has an ethical duty to pursue justice. Earlier, we discussed the charge that's appropriate in these circumstances. But as someone who's tried enough murder cases to know, I can say the charge that you should file based on the law is different than the charge that you might prefer to file. And that's different than the charge that you think the jury would convict on. But what is required of a prosecutor is the courage to file the correct charge based on the law, based on the facts and circumstances. It's telling that we would not be here were we not in the current climate that we're in. And the choice to be here as quickly as we are can be made in other cases, as can the choices necessary to handle this case in the right way. So change can come as quickly as we are willing to allow it to come.
Take those same comments you just made and customize them, coming off the point Joyce Vance was making. Talk about charge you could try to apply in this case and what practicality would probably dictate.
Let me acknowledge what I agree with her about the most, and that is this would be a very difficult case to try. But sometimes as a prosecutor, you're obligated to take on cases that are difficult to try. What I noticed when I watched the video footage is how well trained the officer is in using his weapon, as opposed to how poorly trained he is in trying to retain someone when he is not using his weapon. While almost running full stride, he manages to fire the taser, switch from the taser to his firearm, pull his firearm, point his firearm, shoot his firearm 3 times. All of those acts were done intentionally. So if you want to argue that it should not be a crime of intent and should rather be a crime of recklessness, you have to contend with the fact that you had an officer firing 3 shots in a public place when he didn't know where they might potentially strike the target. I think that you're forced to acknowledge this was an intentional crime, but because of the way that juries perceive the charge of murder, because of the way the public can often perceive them and police officers, the question is, will the DA have the courage to file the correct charge or buckle to pressure and file a lesser charge that he thinks will be more acceptable between the public and the police department?